The first knock came just after sunrise, sharp and impatient, the kind that makes you set your coffee down too hard. I'd owned the cabin for 12 peaceful years, tucked among tall pines in northern Arizona, a place where mornings were quiet enough to hear your own breathing. When I opened the door, there she was, clipboard pressed to her chest, lips pinched tight, sunglasses too big for her face. I knew before she spoke exactly who she was. "Are you the owner?" she asked, already peering past me into the living room where my guests sat laughing softly over pancakes. I nodded. "Yes, ma'am, can I help you?" She sighed like I'd inconvenienced her by existing. "I'm with the Homeowners Association. We've had complaints." That was how it started. My niece and her husband had driven up from Phoenix with their kids for a long weekend. They were respectful, quiet, and grateful to be there. Yet this woman everyone in the neighborhood whispered her name with an eye roll stood on my porch like a self-appointed sheriff. She accused my guests of violating parking rules, noise rules, occupancy rules. Each claim came faster than the last, as if volume could turn assumptions into facts. I tried reason first. I explained the bylaws I knew by heart, the ones I'd followed for over a decade without a single citation. I showed her the permits I kept neatly filed. She barely glanced at them. "You can explain it to the board," she said coolly, "or to a judge." That was the moment my stomach tightened. At my age, you don't scare easily, but you also don't enjoy being pushed around. Still, I thought it would blow over. It didn't. Within a week, I received a formal notice accusing me of repeated violations and threatening fines that would make a dent even in a careful retirement budget. Neighbors stopped by quietly, offering sympathy but little help. No one wanted to cross her. She thrived on confrontation, and she knew how to weaponize rules. I gathered my paperwork, wrote my responses, and waited. The hearing was scheduled at the local courthouse, a modest building with scuffed floors and wooden benches polished by decades of anxious hands. My niece wanted to come, but I told her no. This was my fight. I arrived early, wearing my best jacket, the one I'd worn to my wife's memorial service. I sat alone, breathing slowly, reminding myself that truth still mattered. She arrived late, of course, heels clicking like punctuation marks. She brought a thick folder and a confident smile, nodding to people as if she owned the place. When we were called in, she spoke first. She painted a picture of chaos, wild parties, strangers coming and going, a man who refused to comply. None of it was true, but she said it smoothly, convincingly. When it was my turn, I stood and spoke plainly. I told the judge about my cabin, my family, my respect for the rules. I presented my documents, photos, and permits. I expected questions. Instead, the judge leaned back, studying me with a thoughtful expression that made the room feel suddenly smaller. "Mr. Harris," he said, "how long have you owned the property?" 12 years, Your Honor. "And in that time, any violations?" "None, sir." He nodded, then turned his attention to her. "Ms. Reynolds, you've brought similar cases before this court, haven't you?" Her smile flickered. "I uphold community standards." The judge opened her folder, flipping through pages with deliberate slowness. The sound of paper seemed louder than it should have been. He paused, then looked up, removing his glasses. "For the record," he said, "I also own property in this development." The air shifted. You could feel it, like a sudden change in weather. She stiffened. "I'm familiar with the bylaws," he continued. "In fact, I helped revise them 5 years ago." Silence stretched. My heart thumped so hard I could hear it in my ears. The judge leaned forward. "What concerns me, Ms. Reynolds, is a pattern of selective enforcement. Multiple complaints, minimal evidence, and an apparent personal fixation." She tried to interrupt, but he raised a hand. "This court does not exist to settle personal grudges." He dismissed every claim. Not just dismissed, he warned the HOA against harassment and advised them to review their internal practices. He looked at me then, his voice softer. "Mr. Harris, you are within your rights. Enjoy your property." I walked out of that courtroom, 10 pounds lighter. In the hallway, she brushed past me without a word, her confidence gone, replaced by something small and brittle. Outside, the sun felt warmer, the sky wider. Back at the cabin that evening, my family gathered around the fire pit. The kids roasted marshmallows, laughing as the stars came out. I sat quietly, listening, grateful not just for the victory, but for the reminder that standing your ground still means something. In the weeks that followed, the HOA went quiet. No more notices. No more knocks. Neighbors waved a little more openly. One even brought over a pie and said, "About time someone stood up to her." I didn't do it to make a point. I did it because this place mattered to me, to my family, to the memories tied into every beam and board. At this stage of life, peace is precious, but so is dignity. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and keeps these stories coming. And I'd love to know, where are you watching from tonight?